I just can't not point this out. All right. And this has to be pointed out. Maduro supports Trump. Okay. Maduro supports Trump. And can we just acknowledge this? Like, there's no reason to pretend otherwise. Nicolas Maduro supports Trump. And if you don't want to believe that, which I'm sure a lot of the people don't want to believe that, right? But I will show you 2 clips of recent speeches from Nicolas Maduro where he makes it blatantly obvious that in the upcoming election in the United States, he sees Trump as the lesser of 2 evils. He sees Trump as the lesser of 2 evils. He's made that clear. I'm going to show you 2 clips where he says that, right? In this first clip, right? This first clip is more recent. And in this clip, pay attention to what Maduro says. This is him recently talking about the people claiming that he's not the legitimate winner of the election in Venezuela, trying to claim that he's somehow, he's a fraudulent leader, that he stole the election, right? This is Maduro.
Polo patriótico y el Partido Socialista Unido de Venezuela estamos listos para entregar todas las actas del 100% de mesas a la sala electoral cuando así lo requiera el contencioso electoral que se introdujo el día de hoy por mi persona. Diría un dicho popular venezolano, más claro no canta un gallo. Han querido convertir la elección de Venezuela en un evento mundial. ¿Cuántos gobiernos del mundo, señores de la Unión Europea, metiches de la Unión Europea, señores del Centro Carter, cuántos comunicados sacaron ustedes cuando Donald Trump denunció fraude en las elecciones donde nombraron presidente al presidente Biden? ¿Cuántos comunicados sacó la Unión Europea, el Centro Carter? ¿Cuántos gobiernos del mundo pidieron que se revisaran todas las mesas de votaciones de Estados Unidos? Díganme ustedes. El gobierno de Londres, el alto comisionado de derechos humanos. Y Trump se quedó con su grito de fraude. No se sabe si fue chicha o limonada en Estados Unidos. La potencia más poderosa del planeta, fraude, fue el grito. ¿Cuántas actas revisaron? ¿Cuál es la autoridad electoral en Estados Unidos? ¿Cuál? Hay un poder electoral, hay un CNE. ¿Quién organiza las elecciones? Las gobernaciones. ¿Y si en Venezuela lo organizaran a partir de hoy las alcaldías y se cambiara toda la ley? Grito al cielo.
So there we go, right? He's calling out the European Union and all these countries for not taking seriously Donald Trump's claim that the election was stolen from him in 2020. Now, that's a pretty bold statement to make, and it indicates, support for Trump. You wouldn't say that if you didn't support Trump. And this is another statement that he made. Again, people can choose to ignore this. I'm sure Ben Norton and Danny Haifong are ignoring this because it doesn't fit their narrative. This is Maduro's own words.
Ellos ponen una sonrisa de frente en su diplomacia por engaño, pero por detrás tienen el puñal. Y si les crees a su sonrisa, te descuidas, te volteas, te apuñalean. Así ellos han actuado casi 200 años. Asesinando presidentes, asesinando líderes en el mundo, asesinando presidentes en Estados Unidos. John F. Kennedy. ¿Quién lo mató? El sistema. Comprobado. Crearon lo que hoy se conoce un falso positivo, con un tal señor de apellido Oswald. Eso es conocido. Bien denunciado en un documental película llamada JFK. Bastante documentado. Kennedy lo mata la mafia criminal de Miami y lo mata la CIA, porque él pensaba y estaba trabajando por acabar la guerra de Vietnam y por entenderse con Cuba y cesar el bloqueo y la agresión contra Cuba. De hecho, se conoce que el mismo día que lo matan, a la misma hora que se sabe la noticia, un 22 de noviembre de 1963, Fidel Castro estaba en Varadero, en una casa protocolar, y estaba conversando con un enviado especial del presidente Kennedy. Y le estaba entregando 2 cajas de puros, de habanos, para que se lo llevara de regalo, porque al presidente Kennedy le gustaban los puros cubanos. Y en ese momento entró uno de los asistentes del presidente Fidel Castro, del comandante Fidel Castro, creo que era primer ministro para entonces, y le dio la infausta noticia. Prendieron el radio y se enteraron de las noticias. El mismo día, a la misma hora, estaba Fidel recibiendo un enviado especial para conversar un plan de regularización de las relaciones. El sistema lo asesinó. Tiene un largo historial de asesinatos, golpes de Estado en el mundo y mucho dinero de por medio. Recientemente condenamos el intento de asesinato del expresidente Donald Trump y hay muchas dudas de quienes protegían a Donald Trump, de que por qué permitieron a ese tirador pararse ahí. Hay muchas dudas que se han expresado en Estados Unidos. Ahora están tratando de tapar eso. Así que ese imperio, acostumbrado a la violencia, a los golpes de Estado, preparó un escenario sobre Venezuela.
So now there he is saying that the same people that killed Kennedy and the same people that are trying to destabilize Venezuela right now are the same people that tried to kill Donald Trump. I mean, that's pretty blatant. Trump's enemies are also Maduro's enemies. That sounds like he's supporting Donald Trump. What we got, was his official response, when it was that Trump was shot at. He gave his official condolences.
Iba saliendo de Guanare, recibimos una noticia que en los Estados Unidos de Norteamérica hubo un atentado contra el expresidente y candidato presidencial Donald Trump. Quiero a nombre de Venezuela entera, de nuestro pueblo, rechazar y repudiar el atentado contra el expresidente Donald Trump, desearle su pronta recuperación y que Dios bendiga al pueblo de los Estados Unidos y le dé la paz y le dé la tranquilidad. Hemos sido adversarios, pero le deseo al presidente Trump salud y larga vida. Y repudio ese atentado. Yo también fui víctima de un atentado. Y decían intentos de matarme. Pero siempre Dios puso su mano. Y aquí estamos, sanos, vivos y victoriosos, listos para verle la cara al futuro.
Now, for those of you, that one didn't have subtitles. What he said was, as I was leaving Ganare, we received news that the United States of America, there was an attack against former president and presidential candidate Donald Trump. I want, on our behalf of all Venezuela and our people, to repudiate the attack against former President Donald Trump. I wish him a speedy recovery, and God bless the people of the United States and give them peace and tranquility. We have been adversaries, but I wish Trump health and long life, and I repudiate this attack. I was also the victim of an attack and 100 attempts to kill me, but God always extended his hand, and we are healthy, alive, and victorious. Nicolas Maduro supports Donald Trump, right? So anybody who claims to support Venezuela and repeats the line that Trump supporters are Nazis or Trump is Hitler or, oh my God, we have to vote for Kamala Harris because they're just full of it. He says very blatantly that people that are trying to overthrow the government of Venezuela tried to kill Trump. He says very blatantly that that he is sympathetic to Trump against the assassination. He highlighted Donald Trump's claims that the election in Venezuela was stolen, or in the United States was stolen. And he said, why were those claims not treated as legitimate? Maduro supports Donald Trump. That is very clear. He obviously is not meddling in American politics. He's obviously not trying to, rig our elections or anything like that. But it's pretty clear that he considers Donald Trump to be less of a threat to Venezuela than Kamala Harris. And that's because the people on the streets of Venezuela right now trying to overthrow him are from the same color revolution machine that Kamala Harris has been created by. And that's what I wrote my whole book about. Let me show you a picture of Kamala Harris's niece. Right? Kamala Harris has a niece. Her name is Mina Harris, right? And here is Kamala Harris with her niece, right? Here we go. I will show you this, right? Hold on. This is Kamala Harris with her niece, Mina Harris. Now, that's really great that Kamala and her niece can have such a great relationship. I am obviously not against people being close to their family. But what does Mina Harris do for a living? Mina Harris lives in India and runs NGOs trying to overthrow the government of Modi in India. She is a regime change, color revolution activist trying to destabilize one of the largest countries in the world, right? Mina Harris lives in India. And because India is friendly to Russia, you can read all about it, right? Mina Harris gets money from George Soros and gets money from the U.S. State Department to stage protests in India to try and overthrow the government of India. Just like people in Venezuela get money from the United States to try and overthrow the government of Venezuela, right? These are facts. Kamala Harris is a complete purchased product. She is a completely manufactured lock, stock, and barrel product of the color revolution George Soros apparatus. Donald Trump is a demagogue. Donald Trump is a populist demagogue who serves his own interest. Kamala Harris is just their puppet and their creation. The people on the streets of Venezuela right now and Mina Harris, Kamala Harris's niece, work in the same job with the same paymasters and the same employers. They get paid by the Rockefeller Foundations and the Ford Foundation and the U.S. Endowment for Democracy to destabilize countries. And so the people on the streets of Venezuela rioting right now and burning food warehouses and trying to prevent their people from eating because they want to bring down the government, the rich kids of Venezuela that hate Maduro, are being organized by the same group that employs Kamala Harris's niece, Mina Harris, and she does the same thing in India to try and bring down Modi. These are facts, folks. These are facts, right? These are facts. Kamala Harris, Mina Harris, the anti-Maduro protests are all the same thing. It's a family business. I'm telling you, that's why Maduro says, look, Trump was an awful president. Trump did bad things to Venezuela, but I've got a better shot with Trump than I've got with Kamala, because Trump eventually had a falling out with John Bolton, and Trump eventually got tired of trying to destabilize Venezuela. Whereas Mina Harris and Kamala Harris, they are regime change activists. They are part of the regime change lobby for a living. And that is what you need to understand, okay? And that's what I would like you to understand. Maduro supports Donald Trump, or at least considers Donald Trump to be the lesser of two evils, and he's making that blatantly clear. So anyone who claims to be a friend of Venezuela but also has Trump derangement syndrome is a fraud, right? They're not listening to what Venezuela is actually saying, if that is the case, right? Because Venezuela is making it blatantly clear who they consider to be more of a threat to them. And I just want to make that clear. I want to get that out of my system because there's a lot of confusion about these kind of points. There's a lot of, you know, deceptive actors out there that want to reframe the conversation and want to confuse you. And I'm not saying that Donald Trump is a big supporter of Maduro, and I'm not saying that Donald Trump might not do awful things to Venezuela if he becomes president. But I'm telling you, based on President Maduro's own calculations, they consider Kamala Harris to be a greater threat than Donald Trump. These are facts. So what the Communist Party USA is doing right now, and what is being said by the Workers' World Party, and what's being said by Brian Becker and the Party for Socialism and Liberation, does not match what Venezuela is saying. That's because these groups don't work for Venezuela, and they don't work for the global anti-imperialist movement. They work for the CIA, right? They got their foundation money to get their fancy offices and to run their liberal woke protests, and they are doing the exact opposite. North Korea is also saying that if negotiations start up again, that negotiations can start up again with Trump in office, right? It is blatantly obvious that the global anti-imperialist movement sees Donald Trump as the lesser of two evils right now. And there's a huge amount of effort to hide that from you. Right? On the one hand, you have the Trump people that accuse the woke people of being communists and want you to think that China and woke are the same thing, or Venezuela and woke are the same thing, and they're lying. And you have the fake left that are trying to equate what they're doing in supporting the Democrats with what the anti-imperialist countries are doing, and they are also lying. We are being lied to by both sides. The neocon wing of the Trump camp is trying to equate overthrowing Venezuela with, you know, supporting Trump in the United States. And the woke left is also trying to equate, you know, being a communist with, being, having Trump derangement syndrome, etc. There is a lot of layers of deception going on here, but it is very, very clear that at this point, the global anti-imperialist movement considers Trump to be the lesser of two evils. Iran, you know, maybe not. Iran is in a little bit of a unique position. China, maybe not. But outside of China and outside of Iran, it's pretty universal that Kamala Harris is a bigger threat